morning, welcome to day 14 of Vlogmas. So it's Thursday the 14th of December and it's quite a grey day outside here today, but it isn't raining so I can't complain too much. And I've just got back from the school run. I actually did a little bit of an extended trip out because after I dropped the children at school, I headed down to the local shop to get a few bits we needed, and then I went on to the post office to drop something off there. I feel like I'm at the post office quite a lot more than usual at the moment, but I guess that is just Christmas. But yeah, so I had a nice walk, but now I'm back home, so I thought I'd pop on and catch up. So I'll start off as usual with what Elf was up to in the night. And when we came down this morning, we found Elf in quite a cute setup, I think actually. Basically, Elf had made himself a swing. So I'll pop a picture up so you can see. He had borrowed our pole that we have in our airing cupboard to hang clothes on, and he'd managed to fit it in the door frame. And then he'd attached string to the pole, quite long pieces of string. It's actually quite a long swing. And then for the actual swing itself, he borrowed a piece from one of our Sylvanian family houses. We've got this sort of little Sylvanian family restaurant that has floors that you can remove. So we'd used one of those, which seemed to work quite well. It was quite a nice size for him. So yes, he looked very pleased with himself there, and it did look like quite a fun swing actually. I had a good old swing on it when my children tried him on there. And then there were some teddies on the floor down below him, all watching Elf. And we weren't sure whether they were there to sort of make sure he stayed safe and that he didn't hurt himself if he fell off the swing or anything like that, or whether they were there because they wanted to go themselves and Elf was hogging the swing. We weren't sure which, but yeah, it looked like a really cool setup actually. My children did say they quite fancied having a swing like that themselves in the house. But obviously they'd need a much bigger, sturdier swing. Luckily Elf is quite tiny and light, so that setup seemed to be working very well for him. But yeah, it really did look like a lot of fun, and when we had a go of it, it did swing quite well. So yeah, that is what we found Elf up to this morning. He did look happy with himself with that one, and luckily he didn't wake us up in the night because it must have made a bit of a clatter getting that pole out of the loft. We'd had to be not the loft, the airing cupboard, or we'd had to be quite careful getting it out. But yeah, he managed not to disturb us and get it all set up. So yeah, we were quite impressed with that one. So that was what Elf was up to. And then in terms of what I'm wearing today, well, I've got on a nice cosy dress, and it's a pattern that I wore earlier in Vlogmas, but this is quite a different version of the same pattern. It's this pattern here, one of my favourite woven dress patterns, the Cassiope dress pattern by I Am Patterns. So yes, it's a baby doll dress with this raglan sleeve and a kind of batwing style sleeve and a gathered skirt. And it's quite a loose fitting, oversized style dress, and you can just pull it on over your head. So it's quite a nice speedy sewing, quite like a relaxed casual dress to wear. And the version I'm wearing today is one that I made in a baby cord fabric. So you can see, I'll hold it up so you can hopefully see the texture there, the baby cord. So yeah, very fine needle cord. It's nice and soft and makes quite a nice dress. It's actually the same fabric, but different colourway as I used for my cuff top in red that I was wearing earlier in Vlogmas. I'd forgotten I made this dress actually in it when I was talking about that fabric. I can't remember which colour this is. I'll link the fabric down below. And I'll pop the colourway down below. I'll check out what colourway this one is. It's kind of this sort of dark green colour that I don't often go for, but I just thought it'd look quite nice as sort of like a relaxed, cosy winter dress. So for this Cassiope, I originally made the same size as I made my viscose twill one I was wearing earlier in Vlogmas, which is the smallest size on the paper pattern, which is the European size 36. I think there is a slightly wider range of sizes available if you download the PDF pattern on the I Am website, and I think that might include maybe a European size 34, so the range goes from a slightly smaller size to a slightly larger size. But I've always used the smaller size in the paper pattern, and for viscose fabrics I've quite liked that size. But when I made it, this one in this baby cord fabric, I didn't find it worked as well. It just felt almost too big on me. I think because the fabric has a bit more body and is less drapey, it just felt a little bit too loose and too oversized. So with this one, I actually ended up unpicking the skirt and then sort of narrowing the side seams of the bodice and then sort of re-gathering the skirt in and re-sewing it on, just to sort of bring it to slightly sort of trimmer fit, I guess. It's still pretty oversized, but just not as oversized as it started, and it feels more comfortable now I've made those changes. And the other thing that's different about this Cassiope dress is, on the Iron Patterns website, there are a few different add-ons that you can download, like free add-ons to kind of customise the Cassiope dress and add different details. And one of them is a button-down back. So my version today has a button-down back. I'll try and turn around so you can hopefully see a bit of it. Hopefully you can see that. It was a bit awkward to sort of try and show you my upper back on the camera. But yeah, I thought that would make a nice detail on this sort of baby cord dress. I added on buttons that sort of toned in with the fabric. I didn't want to make too much of a feature of it. And one thing I did do actually on this version that I haven't done on my other Cassiope dresses is I switched the facing that the pattern has to finish the neckline for bias binding. So I used this very pretty Liberty fabric. I had a few scraps of this fabric left over from a Bakerloo blouse I made. I love this fabric, it's really pretty. And I thought it went quite well with the green. I thought it had a kind of, match quite nicely. Not that you can see it, but I can see it. So I used that for the to finish the neckline. I've also got pockets made out of that fabric too. And so it did mean I had to adapt the button down back slightly because I finished it slightly differently with the bias binding and how it all came together. But yeah, I definitely prefer the Cassiope with the bias binding. It feels like it sits better around my neckline. So I'm glad I made that adjustment. But yeah, here's the back wing sleeve, which I think is a nice feature. And it's just really nice and cozy, this one. And I think I might have made it just slightly longer than my viscose ones, just to make it a really cozy winter dress. But I'll put a picture up so you can see what it looks like on. Oh, and I just watched that bit of video back to see whether you could see the buttons on the back of this dress when I turn around. And I don't think you really could. So what I'll do instead is I'll take a picture of them and I'll pop it up here so you can see the colour of buttons I went for and how the button down back looks on the Cassiope dress. But yeah, I really enjoyed wearing this dress today. It's really nice and comfy and cosy in this baby cord fabric. And I think this dark green colour is quite a Christmassy colour, or at least it's making me feel quite nice and Christmassy. So yeah, I'm happy to be wearing it today. So yes, that is what I'm wearing. And then the next thing that I wanted to share was that yesterday I managed to get some photos of me wearing my DD pullover by Fibre Mood that I finished yesterday, that I made in the faux fur Sherpa fleece fabric from Fabric Godmother. So I'll put up a couple of pictures here. First of all, I'll put a picture up that's a bit more of a close-up so you can see the fit. And if you remember, my size would have put me at the top end of the extra small size, but I decided to go for the size small to sort of size up. And I'm glad I did actually, because I think that gives me a nice amount of oversized. I think if I'd have gone for the extra small, it might not have given the oversized vibe that I was looking for. So yes, I'm glad I opted for the small rather than the extra small. And I'll also put up a picture showing sort of my full body so you can see what I've got it on with. I decided to just wear it for the photos just with a pair of jeans, because that's probably how I'll wear it in real life. Just a nice relaxed pair of jeans and a very cozy, snuggly sweatshirt for the colder weather. So yes, that is my Fibre Mood DD pullover. And actually what I was thinking of doing was, I think I'm going to write a blog post all about it with a sort of pattern review. And I'm going to include in the blog post some tips for what I found useful to know about inserting the zip and inserting the collar into the sweatshirt, and also some tips for what I found useful to know when sewing for with a bulky fabric like a Sherpa fleece, because I thought those things might be quite useful for other people out there who are sort of making something similar, because I know this sort of style is quite popular at the moment. So I thought there might be other people maybe thinking about making something like that. I haven't actually written a blog post for a while, so it'll be nice to write one up with lots of details about this make, because I do have quite a lot to say about how I found it and like helpful tips and things. So yes, I'll let you know when I've written that and when it's up on my sort of blogging website. But yeah, I thought that might be quite helpful. And I often find when I'm embarking on a new project, I have a look and read other people's blog posts, and I find it really useful to find out things like helpful tips and sizing and all that sort of thing. So I do like trying to do a pattern review every now and then in case it's helpful for other people. But yeah, that is my plan. And then the next thing that I wanted to share today was, somebody had asked earlier in Vlogmas, because I was mentioning my fabric suitcase and what I've got in there, and whether I could show a little bit of what's in there and how I organise what I've got in there. So I thought I would do that today. So I've got the suitcase here, but I think I'm going to pop and sit on the floor next to the suitcase and hold up a few things. So I'm going to adjust the camera a little bit. So I'll see you in a moment down on the floor to share with you some of the things in my fabric suitcase. So yeah, see you in a moment. Hello, so I'm sitting on the floor in my front room now, and I've got my fabric suitcase next to me here. And as you can see, it's quite a pretty suitcase actually, in this dark red colour with flowers all over it. It makes it nice and easy to spot in the loft when I ask my husband to get it down. And it is a very old suitcase actually, so it is starting to show quite a bit of wear and tear. In quite a lot of places around the zip's sort of starting to come away slightly from the main body of the suitcase. So it isn't a suitcase I'd want to take on holiday. I would worry it might fall apart, but it's still going strong as my fabric suitcase. It works well for that. So it only needs to go back and forth to loft and down. So yeah, it's doing well as that. But I'll open it up and show you a little bit of what's inside. So the first thing I have in my suitcase is I've got different fabrics in A3 size plastic wallets, kind of categorised by the type of fabric. And it makes it a bit easier if I'm looking for a particular type of fabric, just to be able to pull out the wallet and know that everything for that fabric is inside that wallet. So it's mainly for sort of smaller pieces of fabric that will fit in a wallet. So firstly here, and this A3 wallet has in it lots of different ribbing fabrics that I've used as like cuffs and neck bands on different sort of stretching projects. So I've got a whole different load of colours in here. I've got some of this green, sage green that I used on my Myland sweatshirts. Then I've got a couple of pink ones, which are quite handy. Often if I'm making my daughter something like a pair of pyjamas, I'll just have a look in here and pull out some leftover pink fabric and see if I can use that, and if there's enough to use just for a little bit of trim on like a little pyjama top and that sort of thing. And it's just quite handy to have all the ribbing fabrics in here because I do reach them every now and then. So that is my first plastic wallet full of lots of ribbing fabrics. And then the next one is this one here, and this holds all of my cotton lawn offcuts from projects. So these are all fabrics left over that I've sewn with. So you can see here, and you might recognise this fabric. I shared a sleeping mask in this fabric earlier in Vlogmas, and I originally used it to make a pair of shorts and Friday Pat & Co. I think they're called the sport shorts possibly. And then I've got a pair of pyjama shorts in this fabric here. And there's lots of fabrics in here that I used on various projects. And I find this fabric wallet really handy to pull out if I want to maybe use some lightweight fabric to make a pocket bag, or to make some bias binding and that sort of thing. So that's one I often do pull out and use fabrics from. And it's quite nice having a whole selection in there so I can find something that just suits my project. So I would have got this bias binding here, this fabric. That should be in there somewhere. I'm not sure how much I've got of that left, but that should be in there somewhere, I think, if there is any left. And the next plastic wallet I've got is here. And this is all of my swimwear fabric. So I don't have huge amounts of swimwear fabric, and also I don't ever buy like huge quantities of it because you don't need that much, I find, just to make a piece of swimming wear. So yeah, they're generally smaller pieces of fabric. There is some that I haven't sewn with in here. This one here I don't think I've sewn with, which is this really pretty ditzy floral fabric. I think I'll probably maybe pull that out next year and make something ahead of my holidays next year. But yeah, these are all the swimwear fabrics I have all together in here. The next plastic wallet I have here is my cotton poplins, so slightly heavier weight cottons than the cotton lawns. So I've got some fat quarters in here, some cotton poplins I've used that I've got left over from making pyjama bottoms and that sort of thing. Quite a few of the fabrics in here are left over from making my children's quilts as well. So I find them quite useful for crafting projects. I made face masks out of these fabrics during the lockdown, and I made sleeping masks out of them and that sort of thing too. So that's quite a fat fold there, but it's quite useful to have them all together because again, they are smaller pieces of fabric. And then the final plastic wallet I have isn't actually a sort of type of fabric. This is all of the stuff relating to my closet core Kelly anorak, which is a very long-term project that I got partway through quite a long time ago and then just totally halted on it. So I've got the fabric that I was planning to make my Kelly anorak in. I've got some pieces that I'd be making a sort of a toile in. I've got all the sort of notions and the pattern and everything. So it's quite a big folder. And I guess probably I should get it out at some point and consider restarting that project. But at the moment it's sitting in my fabric suitcase and I haven't done a great deal with it for quite a long time, that one. And then inside the rest of the suitcase, I've just got lots of pieces of fabric. Quite a lot of the fabric is, well, I've got quite a few pieces of Where's Wally jersey fabric because I bought quite a lot of that when it was in stock places before it went out of stock, because my son really likes these prints. This is one of the smaller pieces, but I've got some bigger pieces too. and it's really hard to find prints he likes. So when I knew he liked these prints, and he does really love them, I wanted to buy a job lot so that I can make him pyjamas in them for a while to come if he still wants them. I've also got a bit of Finchilate lining here, which is left over from when I made my Oslo coat. I thought it was a decent enough piece that I might be able to use it on another project, just to create like a cosy sort of interlining for something, yeah, nice and cosy, like a jacket. What else have I got in here? I've got some larger pieces of, this is like quite a large piece of black French cherry, because I often make my son joggers in black French cherry, so I thought it'd be useful just to get a decent amount. Then when he needs a new pair, I've got it to hand, a bit like the blue French cherry that I talked about in, was it yesterday's video, that I was making him a pair of PE joggers out of. So yeah, some black French cherry. Here's some more Where's Wally fabric. I've also got a few sort of smaller pieces of fabric that I think, oh actually that's not decent, that's quite a decent sized one. Some more sort of fabrics that I've made things in for my daughter, and I'll be able to use again. I think this is really cute, this sort of Cath's party fabric. I made her a dress in that and a pair of pyjamas, and I've still got some left. And then the smaller pieces like this one here, I'll probably just use to make her some sort of knickers when she needs some new larger knickers. So I've got a range of sort of jersey fabrics in there, a few that are big enough for larger projects for my children, and some that are a bit smaller and will be used for smaller things like knickers. What else have I got now? I haven't got many pieces of actual uncut fabric. It is mainly leftover pieces of fabric. Oh, this is a piece of uncut fabric actually. This one I bought a little bit earlier this year. I got it from a local shop, and it was a sort of a remnant piece, but quite a decent sized remnant. I think it was 2 meters or something, like the end of the bolt. And I thought it'd make a really pretty summer dress of some sort. So I'll probably get it out next year and stay with this one. I really like that red colour. But yeah, that's pretty much my fabric suitcase. What I'll do actually is I'll turn the camera around and show you all the fabrics sitting in there. I try and keep it so that all of my fabrics fit in there and I don't have any overflow, just because I quite like to have everything together and all fairly organised and not too large a stash. But it is quite nice having that suitcase and be able to sort of have a little dip into it. For example, if my daughter needs a new pair of pyjamas, I'd probably pull this out and see if she wants them this first before buying some new fabric. And all these plastic wallets are really useful actually. I do find that really easy to find those fabrics, because if they were all in there amongst everything else, it'd be really hard to see what I had. But yeah, I'll turn the camera around now and just show you a bit more of what's in there. So here is the inside of my fabric suitcase. Now I've cleared out the plastic wallets that were sitting at the top. So as you can see, there are quite a few fabrics in here, and they are mostly, the vast majority of them are offcuts from other projects. And quite a few of them are actually older fabrics, because I think when I started sewing, I did have a tendency to overbuy fabric because I was worried that I wouldn't have enough. So I ended up with some quite large offcuts. Whereas these days I do try and be a bit more careful and only buy what I need and spend a bit of time, sort of looking at the pattern piece and figuring out how much I need. It doesn't always work out, but I do try. So yeah, not buy too much, not overbuy. But anyway, yes, and these are mostly dressmaking fabrics. They all look very familiar to me. I can remember what I made with all of them. I don't know whether they all look familiar to you. I'm not sure if I've worn garments that I made using these fabrics anytime recently or talked about them anytime recently, but yeah, quite a few of them are jersey fabrics, and they are pretty much all dressmaking fabrics, except this fabric over here, this sort of pink one with the sort of roses on it. And that fabric is it is a old duvet cover that my daughter had when she was in her cot bed. So when she was in her cot bed, she had a smaller duvet cover, a smaller duvet and duvet cover. And then when she moved into her single bed, we obviously got her like a full-size single duvet and a new cover. But I really love that fabric, so I wanted to keep it to be able to use it in the future. And I actually have already used some of it to make some bunting for her. I made that a couple of years ago for her birthday, but there's still some left over. But otherwise it is, pretty much all dressmaking fabric left over from projects. And most of it is jersey fabric or sort of stretch fabric. I think because a lot of my woven fabrics I've got stored in my cotton poplin and my cotton lawn envelopes. And I have got a few pieces of viscose in here somewhere. But I don't tend to find viscose scraps as easy to use on other projects. So I think they're probably sitting at the bottom underneath all this jersey, which I probably got out and had a look at more recently. So yeah. That is my fabric suitcase, and I try and keep to the suitcase and not have too much overspill of fabrics, otherwise I find it a little bit overwhelming. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed seeing a little bit of that. I'll turn the camera around now. So that is my fabric suitcase, and I hope you enjoyed that little tour. So I think now I'm going to tidy all those fabrics up back into the suitcase, ready for it to go back in the loft. And then this morning I wanted to get a few jobs done, and also my husband's in the office today. So while I've got the house to myself, I think I might try and wrap a few presents. It'd be good to get started on that. So I'll finish off this bit of the video here, and then I'll catch up with you a little bit later and let you know what I've been up to and if I've done anything sewing related. So yeah, I'll leave you here and see you in a little bit. Bye. Hello, I'm back again, and it's quite a bit later in the day here now. It's actually not too long until I need to head up to school and collect my children. And I've had quite a busy day. I've just been sort of dashing around the house, getting one thing and another done. And I did wrap some presents, so I'm quite pleased to get a few of those all ready for Christmas Day. Nice to get a few in the bag. But I have lost one present I bought for my husband, which is a bit annoying. I think when it arrived, it was delivered, and I think I was busy in the middle of something else. So I put it safely away somewhere so that he wouldn't see it when he came down, when he finished the day. And then I've just totally forgotten where I put it. And I've searched loads of places today, but I just can't find it anywhere. So I'm hoping it does turn up before Christmas Day. I'm hoping it's one of those things that if I just come back to it later, I might suddenly remember where it might be. So keep your fingers crossed for me on that one. Yeah, it was good to get that done, but I haven't really got much sewing done today, or actually none really. I'm hoping to do some tomorrow, so that'll be nice. But actually, I was looking back on my videos from earlier, and I talked for quite a while earlier showing you my fabric suitcase, so I don't want this video to end up too long, so I'll probably finish it off shortly. But what else did I want to say? Oh yes, so yes, plans for the rest of the day are up at school this afternoon. The school is putting on an outdoor carol concert, which will be really nice. They've done it for the last few years. They started it up when it was kind of COVID times, and yeah, people didn't feel comfortable being inside altogether, and then they just kept it going, which is really nice. So I need to head up a little bit early again today to go and enjoy that. So yeah, it'll be really nice to see both my children singing. I think each class will sing a couple of numbers, so yeah, it should be enjoyable and nice and festive. But yes, I'll finish off today's video here because I don't want to end up too long. So thank you very much for joining me for another day. It's so lovely to see your comments. I know you're enjoying my Vlogmas. So yes, thank you for everyone who's liked and commented and watched. I do really appreciate it. And I'll see you again for day 15 tomorrow. So yes, see you again tomorrow. Bye.